Well, if you've been paying attention to the Quality Digest newsletter this year, you'll notice some changes, especially on Thursdays. It's in this issue, which we lovingly call the Thursday Sift. We like that idea. That we stretch our wings a little bit and by running particularly compelling articles from our contributors, as well as a op-ed in each issue from one of us here on the QD staff. This week, editorial director TARAN March was up and she contributed a very thoughtful piece titled AI and the Little Guy. If you haven't read it yet, you should do so immediately. Well, I mean immediately after the show, of course, watch the show, but immediately after the show, clear your schedule and read that article because TARAN is, she's a great writer. She's an exceptionally incisive writer. She's got a journalist's nose for the story angle. She's got a novelist flair for the narrative. Although she says it isn't a narrative, actually, in the beginning of everything. I disagree. I think it's very narrative-like. But in any event, all of her many skills are on display in this very fine article. She starts with a look at the developments in artificial intelligence over the past couple of years with more than a dozen links. I don't think leaks. I got leaks in my head here. More than a dozen links out to relevant articles, true articles, and news items that give you a picture of how far the technology, the AI and the automation technology have come in a breathtakingly short period of time. And it's that combination of incredible developments, stunning developments in AI and automation, and the stunning pace that it's happened within, that gives TARAN, and I think a lot of us thinking about this issue, some pause. And here's a quote along those lines that she offers in her article from a woman by the name of Kay Firth Butterfield. And she's an attorney, author, and speaker specializing in AI and ethics. And she says, I wonder about the analogies with the Industrial Revolution, because the Industrial Revolution hurt a lot of people of a long period. And yes, we came through it and developed something better, but it looks as if the Industrial Revolution will be much faster. This Industrial Revolution will be much faster, and we need to prepare not to hurt as many people very quickly. It's an interesting quote. Comparing what happened 200-300 years ago with what's going on now, but understanding that the cycles
it's much faster,
much faster, and a perspective on how we deal with that is really important. A lot of people thinking about that. So, given the rapid and ongoing changes in the world of AI just in the past couple of years, the big questions, as Firth Butterfield mentions, involve what's yet to come as it relates not to the machines, but to flesh and blood people. It's really important. That's what this article is about. Really, that's what the whole debate is about. It's not about the machines. It's about what the machines do to help or hinder people and what we want to do with our lives going forward. And the workplace really is where we've seen this already, and they're going to likely continue to see the most important and far-reaching of these paradigm shifts. Certainly in the short term, from robots building cars and factories to automated sales tags and retailers, which we talked about last week. Christopher Martin wrote an article about that. To, heaven forbid, automated writing platforms at media companies. Jobs performed by human beings pretty much everywhere are under threat from some form of automation. Lean theory dictates that organizations must eliminate muda. But what happens when machines can do tasks so much better and so much cheaper than people? Do your workers themselves then become the muda? It's a kind of challenging question.
That's interesting,
and because this is a complicated issue with a lot of facets, there are many more questions, many of which we and others have been considering. What happens to that social compact of working for your living that has been pretty sturdy now for a couple of centuries? How do you create and fairly distribute wealth, what's known as wealth, without work or with much less work, at least for the populace overall in these developed countries that we live in, here in America and in Europe and Asia? The French philosopher Voltaire once said, work spares us from three evils: boredom, vice, and need. But automation and efficiency can only really solve the need part of that equation. And this consideration, along with the questions that I just referenced and a whole heck of a lot more of them, were hashed out recently, actually last month, at a meeting titled Beneficial AI 2017 that took place at the Asilomar Conference Center in lovely Pacific Grove, right here in California. Pacific Grove
used to be a dry town, by the way.
Yes, yeah, I know that. But it's gorgeous. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
Dry as in no booze.
I know, but not dry as in weather, but not right now. Well, one of the presentations at the conference was given by a gentleman by the name of Andrew McAfee, and he's an economist at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And TARAN included his entire 20-minute presentation in her article, and I strongly urge you to watch it. It was one that I watched twice because it was so eye-opening. The data alone makes it so well worth the investment of time. As McAfee clearly shows the reality of the hollowed out, he calls it the hollowed out middle class, as decent jobs simply evaporate, leaving growth only in the extremely low paying jobs and the extremely high paying jobs, and not only here in this country, but really around the world. Further, McAfee very starkly demonstrates the toll that the loss of these kind of jobs have taken on individuals and communities. It's shocking. He talks about things like illnesses and suicide rates and alcoholism, and it's horrific and it's scary and it's terrifying, and it informs this debate we're having right now about AI and automation. So I want to play a short, it's about 45-second clip from that speech in which he considers the reality of the situation as uncovered in the book, The Politics of Resentment, written by sociologist Catherine J. Kramer. Let's take a quick look.
Is a book that just came out early last year called The Politics of Resentment, where a sociologist went around and spent time in these white working class communities in Wisconsin. And she just found this overwhelming sense of grievance and resentment and a feeling of betrayal by this constellation of factors that clearly matter a lot to a lot of people. So I look at some of these social numbers, and I have trouble telling a happy story about them. When I talk to Silicon Valley utopians, I kind of get this idea that what they kind of say is, let's hasten the day when there's no more work, because then it will be all Burning Man all the time. And I don't see that in the communities where work is actually going away over and over again. So I was trying to articulate that this.
Well, there it is. All Burning Man all the time. I love that quote. That's what some Silicon Valley entrepreneurs and visionaries are thinking about. Well, nope. I don't think that's reality. And that may be in the fondest desires of some of the avant-garde AI developers and their coterie of enthusiasts. But McAfee's presentation, again, watch it. Please watch it, because it's 20 minutes and it's great. And please read Taryn's article too. But the presentation shows that there's a strong need for work, for good work, that people can engage in and feel good about. And there's a lot of factors, lots and lots of factors affecting the disappearance of these jobs. I mean, competition, outsourcing, offshoring, et cetera, whatever you want to call it. Those are part of the answer. And automation is another part of the answer, sure. But at the end of his presentation, McAfee offers a pair of ideas that maybe could help, maybe lead us out of this. And one of them is something that you just talked about, was maybe less regulation, but not less regulation on a grand scale for the big corporations, but maybe like on a smaller scale, less regulations to help people in the maker economy or the sharing economy. You know, let people get into those economies more easily with less restrictions if they have things to sell, they have a room to rent or whatever, right, or a car to drive. I mean, let them get into the economy more easily than we do now. That makes a lot of sense to me. The other thing is what we talked about all the time, more education. You know, more people having more access to quality training and retraining as necessary gives them really the best possible chance to establish and maintain relevancy for as long as possible in this new economy we're entering. You know, AI and automation in general, they're likely, almost certainly going to be a dominant part of our lives going forward. And I think thinking about it now can help really all members of society prepare for the changes to come. And that is the key thing. All members of society. You know, this Asilomar conference was obviously, you know, people could look at it and say, well, it's ivory towers, it's researchers and, you know, PhDs talking about this stuff. But McAfee's presentation in particular really drilled down into the data that show what the loss of those jobs, the loss of the ability to participate in the economy and have some pride and dignity in what you do. And he came down very firmly on the idea that basic income is not the way to go. Okay. That basic income will not do anything. It will, he says, helicopter money into these cities and these rural communities, that's not going to work. Yeah. But I mean, the idea to let people try to get into the economy in whatever way they can and make that easier for individuals, not necessarily corporations, and to offer easily accessible, cheap retraining and training, he thinks is the solution. Okay. It makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. You know, that was, I have to say, I mean,
I got to go back and watch that. Yeah.
The clip was excellent. Taryn's article, and I'm obviously biased.
Yeah, but it was a good article.
It was one of the best articles that I think we've run, certainly this year, if not in months before that. So check that one out. I think it was a really good one.